Do you have a long ruck coming up? Need some advice? Watch this.
Our next caller is Nick from Nebraska.
Nick, what's happening, man? How can we help you?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. Chilling.
Good. Awesome. Hey, I've been listening to your podcast for a month now. It's sorry I'm not a lifelong listener, but I am now. So I had a couple questions for you guys. The first one is I've been in the military for 14 years now. And when I first started out, there wasn't really much direction as far as like how you are supposed to wear a rucksack and all this stuff. And so I got off active duty 7 years ago, and now I'm doing just a backstory. I got sober 6 years ago, and each year I do a kind of an annual 17-mile ruck march and ultimately get some people together. Well, this year I decided to do a 50-miler. And so in August, I'm doing that. And my question to you guys is, after I listened to your podcast talking about like weight belts and all that, I don't know if you guys have ever wore a rucksack or anything like that, but there's a waistband or a belly band that kind of goes around it. And one of the things that I was thinking the longer that I've been lifting and everything else is like, that can't be too good to keep your core tight like that for such a long extended period of time, especially now that I'm looking at doing it for like 22 hours or so. And I was just kind of wanted to get some insight on maybe like a good approach for myself as to what I should do during that 22 hours. Should I go loose with that? Because what I was trained to do is keep that pack as tight and close to your body as possible, so you move as a single unit. Whereas if I loosen it up, then it puts more strain at other places, but also I don't want to fatigue my core to where I can't keep myself upright. So that's ultimately my question, to see if you guys had any advice on what I should do with that.
Yeah, no, listen to your training. So what you're doing is like an extreme physical exertion. And the people who train you to do that, they know what they're talking about. So when we talk about weight belts, totally different. But if I was training for a powerlifting competition, I would train with a weight belt. So what you're trying to do is get good at walking or rucking for long distance with this sack on your back. Then you definitely want to carry it close to your body. So, yep. I mean, if you want to train without it or train with it being loose, I guess that's okay. But you should probably get good at using it the way that is best to use it. So I would listen to your training, and I would definitely, keep it close to your body.
Yeah. Do you bring it into the gym too? Do you lift with it on too?
So once the pandemic hit, I threw like $10,000 into my garage. So I work out at home, cool. But I've got a treadmill that I walk on whenever, obviously, it's inclement weather. And so, yeah, whenever I'm on the road for work, I take it with me and I get on and you wear it in the gym. I try to wear it everywhere I go, if I'm going on a long walk or anything like that.
So whenever I see guys in the gym wearing weight vests or wearing these backpacks and they're not like a military guy, I always think it's silly. But for you, it makes total sense.
Yeah, you want to get good at it.
You're the guy who's supposed to do that. You're the guy in the gym who is supposed to have the rucksack on when you're doing all this stuff, because you're training for that. You're going to be using that. You're going to have to go for 50 miles with it on your back. So I would strap it up tight and I would train on it and use it and get used to it being on your back as much as possible.
Yeah, because the other way is just ineffective at that point, right? If you want to loosen it up and then tighten it back up, and it's a different recruitment pattern. So you might as well master like the recruitment pattern of keeping all the weight loaded the same way for that long extended amount of time. But I mean, in terms of like bolstering up your core and like working on core work in the gym and all that would be a good supplemental option.
Yeah. And keep this in mind too. Like, you're using your core quite a bit, even though you're strapping that to your body. It's just a different recruitment pattern. You're essentially getting good at traveling for distance with the ruck pack on your body. So you want to train the way that you're going to go do this competition. You want to train that way. So, I'm it's a good question, because I can see how it could be confusing based on what we said with the weight belt. But your goal with this is to get good at doing this. It's not necessarily to, just have function throughout the day and stuff like that. Although I would say you're probably perfectly fine considering all the other exercise and stuff that you do. You said you invested in a home gym. I'm assuming you do a lot more than just, rucking. So no, I would listen to your training and your trainers and wear it the most efficient way possible. If you lose efficiency, it's going to make it much more challenging.
That's the thing. Yeah, you don't want to add that to the mix because now you're going to be setting yourself back in terms of like being competitive out there with everybody else.
Yeah. So to give you an example, it'd be like, if I walked barefoot, I could develop better natural foot recruitment patterns. But if I'm walking for distance, if I know in a month I got to go walk for long distance, I'd be stupid to train barefoot and then put my shoes on. Unless I'm going to do the whole thing barefoot, I'm going to train the way that I'm going to compete. And in this case, it's going to be, with the sack on your back. So put it on the way you were trained.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of those things too, I guess, being in the Army, we understand, but it's more hearsay of like, hey, do it this way rather than like anybody that really knows. And so I just thought that maybe there was some secret out there that was, but totally then my training has been good and what I've been told is the right thing.
Well, if you came to me and said, Adam, I want to train my core, and you were not going to go on a 50-mile ruck with a backpack on your back, right? Then I would say let's not use that. Like I would train your core without the backpack but the fact that you are going to go do an event like that, I would absolutely want you to use that way. So I don't think it's and to Sal's point, you're not going to have a weak core. You're training a different recruitment pattern, one that is used to having a strap around your waist. But since you are going to go for a 50-mile run with a strap around your waist, it makes total sense. If you were not going to go on that and you're like, hey, I just want to have a strong core, what do you think about training this with his backpack on? I'd say, well, if you just want a strong core, I wouldn't want you to train with a backpack on because I don't think it's superior for training your core because you're not going to go do a competition. Does that make sense? That's why.
Yeah, for sure.
And don't discredit the anecdotes you're getting from the people training you, because that's a lot of anecdote. So what you're going for. I mean, how long have people done these long rucks in the Army? Like how many years? How many decades? Yeah. So
hundreds of years.
Yeah. So it's good advice. It's good advice. So we might not have studies to support it, but. You don't want to learn the hard way and be like, you know what, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And then you do it.
Yeah, totally. Have any of the guys like switched it up and put the load in the front for part of the time as well?
Only when we're going on deployments and getting on a plane. Okay. Gotcha. That's the only time we switch it up because it doesn't sit right if you put it in the front.
Yeah, it just doesn't work like that. Okay, gotcha.
Got it.
I think the big question too is I'm probably similar to you guys as far as like if I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not probably going to talk about it. And so I'm a master fitness trainer for the Army now. And one of the big things was like whenever we're going on rucks on drill weekends or whatever the case may be, and people are asking me and I'm like, well, I can't tell you that because I don't physically know, and I don't know the facts. So I'm just going off of what some old grunt told me like 20 years ago. So
I respect that.
So totally. Yeah. And so, yeah, totally. That's what, but my second question is I'm a musician and I'll go on stage and play 3 hours at a time, 3-hour shows. And I'll have probably like a 15-minute break or so at the top of every hour. And what I'm finding right now is that I'm great. Like I'm on a very like regimented diet. I have 6 to 7 meals a day and everything is just kind of mapped out for me. But then whenever I hit show days, I'm up later and I have my time slots in order to eat aren't the same. And so it gets kind of mixed up. And my question to you guys is for those times whenever I'm on stage and I hit a wall and I just cannot continue performing because I'm super tired. And really like, just to give you a kind of idea, like I'm on stage and I have a whoop band and I burn probably, at least according to that, like 2,000 calories in a night. It's a ridiculous amount of calories, obviously within probably reason of that. But, so my question is, do you guys have any like just advice on what I should be eating during those times and how often I should be eating while on stage?
Play the accordion or what are we talking about?
What's your instrument?
I play country music, so I'm a singer and
nice.
guitar player.
Oh, good deal. Okay, so
Element T, bro.
Yeah, I would front load. So I would make sure that you go into it well fed. And then the studies show a carbohydrate drink, very easy digesting drink that's got carbohydrates and some sodium. So you could put like Element T in a big, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's a company we work with, in a big, canteen. And then you could do like half water, half Gatorade even. I mean, just some carbohydrates and sugar with some salt, and that'll replenish you enough to continue doing. That's where the studies actually show that when you're doing prolonged activity, that's when those intra-workout carbohydrates actually make a difference. If you're just working out for an hour, you're doing strength training, won't really make that big of a difference. But when it goes on to 2 hours, 3 hours, that's when those quick digesting carbohydrate drinks with some salt actually make a big difference. So that's all you would do. You just drink that on stage as you're performing.
Okay. Yeah, because like just trying to eat and stuff like that while I'm performing actually is kind of counterproductive for me, because then I feel like I have stuff in my throat and I can't sing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so definitely drink wise, that would be the way to go for me.
Totally.
Awesome.
Yep. Drink some carbohydrates and some salt, and you just drink that as you continue, and you should find yourself not crashing.
Yeah, I would do like you said. I would load up on the food ahead of time, so you have a good amount going into your first part, because you get a break every hour. You said, right? So I would go. I would make sure I'm well fed going into the concert, and then while you're on stage, I'd actually have that canteen with water and Element T in it. So I'm kind of like sipping on between songs or whatever that. You can kind of just be sipping on water. Well, hopefully you could do that during that time.
Yeah.
And then at your hour breaks, I would be replenishing with the sugar carbohydrate drink. That's what I would do.
Awesome.
Yep.
Hey, and next time you guys have family get-togethers at your house, I'll come out and play.
All right. All right.
Call you out on that, dude.
Yeah, look how
Hey,
we
do it.
Justin just did it. Justin just had a band going to his house live.
I did, man. Yeah, I got a
I
good venue for
I remember
you.
he was talking about that.
Yeah.
And a leaf blower. Hey, man, if you're going to buy a leaf blower, buy Milwaukee. If you're going to buy one,
Oh, I love Milwaukee, dude.
battery
half my
operated,
tools are-
and you need the battery to last.
Yeah.
So
good
cool, guys.
Right on,
I
man.
appreciate it.
Thanks,
you.
Thanks for your service, Nick.
Yeah,
Appreciate
dude.
it.
Yeah, no problem. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, this is where intra-workout carbohydrates make sense. I know
Yeah.
they sell them to people who lift weights, and it's like, it's not. I mean, you're working out for an hour, unless you're going like ridiculous crazy. It's not really going to make that big of a difference. But when you're going on for 2 hours, 3 hours, that's when you see the studies actually show. And I've done it before. I've done really long, prolonged workouts. That's when it makes a difference.
Oh yeah, and you bonk. I mean, it's pretty rigorous, like doing stuff like that on stage and the pressure and everything else. So yeah, to maintain that kind of energy is definitely something you want to consider having that available readily.
Yeah, I love the idea of loading up the calories, having the Element T to sip on while he's on stage, and then hit at the hour, because he's getting a break, so he's got an hour.
Yeah.
He'll go fine for the first hour, especially if he's sipping on the Element T, and then hit like a good quick sugar calorie drink right
Or you could do
afterwards.
drugs like other musicians.
That's the old school.
We didn't want to mention that option, but we've seen it done.
Don't do drugs, kids. That's a terrible idea. Look, if you like our information, head over to mindpumpfree.com and check out our guides. We have guides that can help you with almost any health or fitness goal. You can also find all of us on social media. So Justin is on Instagram at mindpumpjustin. Adam is on Instagram at mindpumpadam, and you can find me on Twitter at mindpumpsal.